Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, round 11 was interesting, but there were lots of draws. 7 out of the 8 games were draws. There was one decisive result. It was in the women's section. You can see it on screen. Vaishali Rameshbabu defeats Aleksandra Goryachkina, and she takes the lead, the outright lead of the FIDE women's candidates. The open section, the draws were very interesting, and we'll talk about them in just a moment. We're going to cover this game first, and then do a much bigger overview because not as many games to show you. They were draws. Now, it's funny. I was debating on a chess group. Said, "Oh, it was a boring day because there was one decisive result." And someone said, "But it's chess. Sometimes we lose our mind about draws. It is inherently boring." And I said, "Yes, but in terms of the standings, when there is so much on the line, we look at games that affect the standings. Now, when there are 4 draws and all the games are drawn in a section, the standings don't change. So the open section is as it was after round 10. Javokhir Sindarov still leads. He's led for 10 rounds. He's led for 10 rounds or something like that. He had 6 out of 10. It was the most amount of wins in the first 10 rounds of the candidates as they are currently being played. But we'll talk about that in all just a minute. Let's look at Vaishali versus Aleksandra Goryachkina, white pieces. We had an interesting version of like a collie system, like transitioning into a London, because traditionally in the collie you play e3. So this was like a London, but like a delayed move order, and c5. And it's interesting how these top GMs go about facing the London and playing the London, because it is such a solid system. So you have queen b6 early, queen b3, and now bishop d7. You always want to be taken in this place. Knight bd2, bishop e7, bishop e2, short castles, short castles. You can see both players have spent time getting to this position. Now with the London, there's like nothing you do wrong. Black always evaluates what they do with the c-pawn, if they leave it there, if they take, if they push. Of course, the queens are just going to stare at each other until someone does something. Either you play queen c2 or you take. And black, either you play like queen d8 or you take, or you play, something else. But at the moment, you can't go queen c7 because that hangs a queen, and you can't go queen a6 because that hangs a queen, and you can't really do anything else. So we have rook to c8. Now knight e5, so the bishop can drop back to e8. Now bishop to g5, knight to c6 challenges that knight, but I can play f4. And, okay, knight a5. Surely something's going to happen here, and we get the queen trade. This is what we've been looking for several moves. Now, an interesting position here. Just out of curiosity, it's not always great to take this knight. You can't really do it now because this takes and your bishop hangs. So you've got to try go for this, but the problem is this doesn't work because I take and I defend my bishop. So you've got to do this in the right way. So that's probably why knight a5 was played. You could leave the knight there, but black doesn't have a lot of options. So, knight a5, you go here, and now f5. White are really looking to crash through. h6, bishop to h4, and now I take. I take the pawn, rook takes, and now I can bring the knight back. a3, I just drop my bishop back. You're not getting anything. I take the knight, and I play bishop c6, and as black untangles, I mean, even playing a move like rook c7, it's not beautiful, but it's doing the job. And slowly but surely, Vaishali gets herself into a slightly okay position. I'd say slightly okay. The engine prefers black, but overall, it's a solid position. We trade rooks, and she's fine. She's completely fine, and someone's going to blunder. Her pawn structure gets fixed. This is a big decision from Goryachkina to take, because you fix black's pawn structure, but you also leave yourself with this weakness on e3. It could have been, but c4, that is the idea. Now king f8 takes, bishop c4 loses on the spot. It's a level position otherwise. It's level. Bishop c4 loses on the spot. Bishop c6. And you might say, wait, why does it lose? Knight is loose, rook is loose. King is coming, this knight is okay. And so what happens is you can take here, I target the rook. And we sacrifice the rook. You might say, wait, hang on, I don't get it. Why did we go down this line of sacrificing the rook? I don't get it. Where does this rook go? Where does this rook go? Because if you don't play rook c5 and you play, let's say, king f2, knight d7. The rook has nowhere to go except to sacrifice itself. You can try rook e4, which is what the engine wants, to get this and try to activate your knight. But the rook is trapped. Goryachkina just got her rook trapped in the center of the board. So I think she missed it. So we go down this line. So there's, b6. We sacrifice the rook for the bishop. But, the black rook just infiltrates. We trade off a couple of pawns. This is still not winning. You've got to be very careful how you do this. But the black king comes forward. And Vaishali just ends up, mating Goryachkina. So that was the only win of the day. The only decisive result. A beautiful game from Vaishali. She untangled very, very nicely. And then she got kind of gifted a win towards the end. Now, in terms of the overall standings, just going back to what we were discussing a few minutes ago, Sindarov has led since about round 4, if I'm not mistaken. I would check on my phone, but I can't at the moment. It's flat. He's got the most amount of wins in 10 rounds. Obviously, he draws round 11, and he leads in the standings. But, no one's even close to him. It's not as if this is a 2-horse race. Anish Giri is the next closest guy. And it's really funny. Anish Giri, in the press conference, he's like, Sindarov's probably happy I'm the one chasing him and not Fabi, because you're probably more scared of Fabi. If Anish Giri is chasing you and he's 2 points behind you, it's fine. Although he's playing very, very well this tournament. Fabi has fallen apart a little bit in the second half. And, it just brings back of 2022. I really feel bad for Fabiano Caruana. This is a second time. You just can't chase a guy having this phenomenal tournament. You've got to root for everybody else to beat him, and no one is. He's undefeated, 11 rounds, making draws. I thought after 7 rounds, I think he drew round 8 and 9 before winning yesterday. I thought, he's consolidating. He's made 3 draws in a row. He's happy to draw all the games and be like, okay, you guys got to take chances, and you might lose your games. He's still winning. He's won 6 out of 10 games, 4 draws. It was ridiculous. Okay, now 5 draws in 11 rounds. This is the candidates. How has he done that? The women's section is far more interesting. Vaishali does have the lead, but anything can change. That is a section that everybody is very, very close. She has the lead. It's hers to lose going into the last 3 rounds, but if she loses tomorrow, people can catch her. So, and I think that's what makes the women's section so entertaining. Again, we shall see what happens. But the open section, their standings aren't changing. And if tomorrow we have 4 more draws, what you gonna do? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for round 12.